Welcome back, guys, to our green Crimson Vow set review. We're going to go ahead and jump right in with the Sharpshooter, a 3-mana 1/4 with Reach and Training. I actually like this card a fair amount. What do you think, Yinks?
I like this card, and it makes me think back to, I think it was our white and blue set reviews, where we were like, these cards will be good, but we need to see what those green Reach creatures look like. Do we have these 1/3 and 1/4 Reach creatures? And right off the bat, we've got a 1/4 Reacher.
Yep, 1/4 Reacher with Training. Like, I'm happy to play a 1/4 Reacher for 3 mana often, with a relevant creature type. This is fine.
Yeah, this card's good. It's like a 2/5.
Yeah, I think it's a 2/5. The Training makes me want to give it a little bit of a boost, but I think it's kind of a 2/5 if it didn't have Training. This is starting to be a 3-drop I'm getting pretty happy to have.
Yeah, I think Training and a Reach 140s are usually cards you want to keep back to block. So it's a little bit of tension there, but it's still obviously just an upside.
I agree, that's usually true, but all you have to do is get in once, and this becomes an insane value, like for a 2/5. Like, that's going to be tough to get through, and for 3 mana, we feel great.
Yep.
All right, we have the Pack Leader. It's a 2/1 for 1 mana, Wolf. When it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, if you control a permanent with mana 4 or greater, whenever you cast a spell with mana 4 or greater, get another +1/+1. That seems okay.
Yeah, this is a 1-drop I really like. It's got 2 power to begin with, so it's a real creature. And then it just grows. It's either becomes a 3/2 if you double spell this on like turn 5 with like another 4-drop or a 3-drop or something. You already have a 4-drop from turn 4. And then every one you cast after that makes it bigger. You don't need to make this bigger to have gotten your mana worth out of it.
Certainly not. Yeah, this feels great to me. I think this is a 3. Another important thing, it does say spell, so that doesn't necessarily just mean creatures, right? It also means weird actual instants and sorceries, enchantments, whatever, and it's going to grow. So there's going to be a ton of things in your deck that are going to actually trigger on this, and I love it.
Yeah, this card's great. 3 makes sense to me.
Okay, cool. We have exactly an hour to get through the rest of these.
Well, this next card's going to take most of that hour, so.
All right, moving on. Ava Brook Caretaker. 6 mana, 4/4 with Hexproof. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control with Daybound. At night, Hexproof. Other permanents. I forgot the music. Other permanents at the beginning of your combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Okay. I mean,
Why print this card? Who is this card fun for?
The person who has it.
It ruins limited games. It's not anywhere near good enough for constructed. Like, this just why? Like, not to mention the backside, other permanents you control have hexproof. Who is killing something other than this?
Well, other permanents you control have hexproof, but it still has hexproof, so you're killing nothing.
I know. It just seems like even if you didn't give them hexproof, you'd be trying to find a way to kill this. I know it has hexproof, so you can't. It's just like, why? Hexproof is terrible. Just keep printing Ward. Stop with hexproof.
I mean, for the most part, they have done that. So, I mean, this is a bomb. This is doing bomb stuff.
Yeah, like, you should not be putting cards in your limited sets that you pretty much don't have answers to.
I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, this is gonna suck. This is gonna suck a lot. But it's gonna be really great to play.
Yeah, to some degree, but it's like, yeah, I won with a ridiculously overpowered card. Woohoo.
That's what all Planeswalkers and a lot of Mythics are. Sometimes even rares if you look at Dream Trawler.
Yeah, Dream Trawler wasn't as annoying as this because it only sometimes had hexproof.
I don't know. Dream Trawler
was busted. But it was at least
also
hard.
A rare. So like the amount of times you're gonna lose to this is pretty minor.
That was worse. Yes.
And
I do agree with that.
Every once in a while you just lose to a Chandra. Fine. Right? Like the Planeswalkers, I feel like this is replacing what we used to see with Planeswalkers, where now the Planeswalkers in Limited are far more reasonable, and we just get like a random Dream Trawler or whatever. And that's what this is. And I feel like, okay, yeah, you played your Mythic, good, you get a win.
But I guess that's my thing. Like, we're happy they did that with Planeswalkers. They realized that was a problem. So why do it with this? Like, and they're putting things like Hero's Downfall at uncommon to help deal with Planeswalkers, but can't deal with this thing.
Yeah, I agree. But like, the point is that it used to happen a lot with like 5+ bombs in every set. Now we're getting like 1 bomb in every like other set that's like undealable and unmanageable. I am not going to poo-poo progress from the limited perspective. If someone wants to play this and get their win, fine. It happens way less than it used to. I'm okay with it. The Planeswalkers are fine. This can take its place.
Yeah, it just feels like the opposite of progress, because Ward is the progress. We've figured out the progress. Oh, we're gonna get rid of it and do this instead.
As a one-time thing, you're saying the progress is just don't do these bombs ever forever. Like,
no, my progress is don't ever print anything with hexproof ever again, because it's a ridiculously bad mechanic.
Okay. And we hear you rant about that every single week. Even when there is no hexproof creatures in the format, you still go on about this. But obviously Wizards of the Coast doesn't agree. So we're going to take what we can get. We're no longer dying to absurd Chandras. And we're going to die to this sometimes. I'm just glad it's not a rare. Thank you, Wizards of the Coast, for not printing this at rare. I'm a half full, apparently, which is really rare. I'm not normally the half full girl, let me tell you. All right, so I'm going to give this a 5. Bramble Armor, not particularly playable previously. 1.5.
Yeah, Blueprint wasn't particularly good the first time around. Still isn't very good.
Moving on, Bramble Worm, 7 mana, Reach Trampler. When it enters a battlefield, you gain 5 life. Pay 3, exile it from your graveyard, you gain 5 more life. It's fine for a top end card. It's gonna like surprise reach you a fair amount.
Yeah. Power and toughness is fine for 7 mana. 2 build, 2 keywords. Life gain is nice. It's not in the life gain colors, but that's fine. Green gets some random life gain every once in a while, and it's always nice to have it stapled onto an already good card.
Yep. I mean, that said, it's not overly powerful, and you can only play like 1 6+ drop, 2 6+ drops, so you're not going to be playing a ton of these things, but it's probably like a 3. I like the Reach Trample.
Yeah, I've got it at like a 3.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Cartographer's Survey. 3 and a green sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up the 2 land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random.
Okay, this is the first time we've really seen it put 2 lands into play. Usually it's like 1 into play, 1 into hand kind of thing. Bit expensive at 4 mana, but 7 you're likely to find, I think.
Yeah, I think the reason you're getting 2 into play is it's 1 more mana than you see like a cultivate type effect, and you can miss that second land.
Definitely.
Again, this is an interesting card. It's obviously great if you're splashing. Although again, not as good as something to let you search for them.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of card that maybe if these cards are good enough, you've got things like Brambleworm can get played more, and you can play more copies of bigger spells if you have reliable ramp.
Yep, I agree with that. What do we think score-wise?
It's like a 2-5 just because not every deck's going to want it.
I agree. I have it at a 2-5 as well. Cemetery Prowler, a 3 mana 3/4 with Vigilance. When it enters a battlefield or attacks, exile a spell from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less for each card type they share with cards exiled. Okay, so you get their creature, you get to do some stuff, possibly even get things out of their graveyard with Disturb. This card's great. I like it. It's one of my favorite wolves.
Yeah, this card's very good. Already, 3/4 for 3 is already above rate. Vigilance is fine, and everything else is a bonus. Yeah, you're almost certainly going to want to get creatures with this.
Yep. Start there, get everything else as you go, and remove relevant Disturb things. I like it. This is like a 4?
Yeah, I've got this as a 4.
Cloaked Cadet, 5 mana for a 2/5 with Training. Whenever 1 or more counters is put onto 1 or more human you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once per turn. That's a pretty strong ability.
Yeah, obviously it includes itself, which is which is key for the when it comes with training. It's a little expensive, but if you get one trigger out of this, you're obviously it's replaced itself, and your body's now on rate. So I like this card. It's pretty good.
It's gonna be like medium. If you don't have things that in green white, it'll be a little bit better, so you have more training access. But if you're in green something else and it's kind of really only doing its own thing, if we see pump spells that give you +1/+1 counters, we'll be much happier to just play this.
Yeah, and not only green white has access to more training, but just will probably have access to more humans.
Yeah.
For that condition as well.
Although that doesn't really matter, right? Because in order for you to get that ability, this human has to be on the field. So, like, if you have a thing to put a counter on a thing, you could do it on this. So you don't necessarily need a lot of humans for this to be relevant. You need the triggers for the +1/+1 counters, which can be other humans, but also could be like Snakeskin Veil type effects.
Yes.
I like it at like a 3. It's going to be lower if you have nothing else to interact with it, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'm 3. I'm on the low end of 3, but it's a 3.
All right. Crawling Infestation, a 3 mana enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. You may mill 2 cards. Whenever one or more creature are put into the graveyard from anywhere during your turn, put a green insect, only triggers once per turn. So we've got that like sort of mill synergy going on again.
Yeah, this makes me think there wants to be some sort of either like blue-green or black-green deck that cares about the graveyard. We'll have to see as we keep going through green. It doesn't really pay off much on its own, though.
No. I mean, when their creatures die, it's good. When you remove their creatures or whatever, you get little stuff. But you kind of need to have payoffs for that. So I'm wondering if, like, this is worth running in the Extort deck. But, you know, you'd have to have a lot. So I think this is okay, but not in most decks. It's going to be cut.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cards, right? You'll know when you want it. And it's going to be with a lot of exploit or with a lot of graveyard synergy.
All right, Crushing Canopy, 3 mana, destroy target creature with flying or destroy an enchantment. So this is a sideboard card. I'm going to give it a 1, but I will say this is better than it typically is because there are a lot more stinking enchantments than we usually see. All those disturbed creatures are coming back into play as an enchantment. And then we have a fair amount of flyers.
Yeah, it's interesting because this card, like last set, I would have said would be better than usual because all of those disturbed cards came back as flyers.
Yes.
And this time, they're not all flyers, but they all come back as enchantments.
Yeah. So this is a fine 23rd playable card if you don't have removal and stuff, because you're likely to find a target. It's just maybe not a super relevant one, and sometimes you'll just spike a dragon and be happy. So I you know, how you decide to play this is based on how likely it is to have something it can be cast on, even if it's not a relevant target or something like super powerful. As long as I'm hitting something with this, I'm happy.
Agreed.
So I'm going to give it a 1. All right, Cultivator Colossus, a ginormous plant beast for 7 mana. We have a Trampler. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. When it enters the battlefield, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card, then repeat this process. Also, I probably won't have a land in my hand. So you want to be playing this on 8.
Yes.
Assuming you hit all of your land drops. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this is just really a big beater. You figure it's a 7 mana 7/7 that keeps
with
growing.
trample, yeah.
And yeah, occasionally you're going to be able to replace itself by putting a land into play and getting a card out or chaining a couple together if you get lucky.
Yeah, it does make that while this is on the field, all of your lands are no longer dead draws. But it also means that if you're still drawing and this thing's still on board, they're probably freaking dead anyway, so it's kind of win more.
Yeah.
But fine. So, I mean, I think this is still really good. What do you think it is rating-wise?
Yeah, I think it's a 4. You got to answer it, but you can answer it. It doesn't necessarily leave anything behind unless you happen to have a land.
Yeah, I put 4 as well. Dawnhard Disciple, 2 mana 2/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's just a bear with like a non-existent or non-long-term upside. Oh,
Yeah.
whenever other... Okay, that's okay. This is fine. I think it's still a 2, though.
Yeah, it's a 2. Probably the deck that wants this is really just going to want it because it helps you with other humans than it itself.
All right, dig up. We got a 1 mana green spell with Cleave. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So, if you pay the Cleave cost, you could just search for a card, not reveal it, put it into your hand. It just tutors.
Yeah, this is like a cross, so it's a Lay of the Land, Diabolic Tutor split card, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's playable if you're splashing. If you're just in green and something else, like if you're green, white, splash, red, or whatever, sure, you could play this as a fixer. And then
Lay of the Land occasionally saw some play, more so actually than the Diabolic Tutor half, because Diabolic Tutor is pretty bad and limited. But when it comes for free attached to something you might be playing anyway, it's okay.
That said, I typically don't love tutor effects in limited, so I'm not really playing this card.
No, I'm probably doing what you said. I'm playing it if I'm splashing, and that's probably about it.
Yep. Now, if I'm green black splashing, then you get a little value because you're like, oh, yes. I already have my red source. Now I can just go get anything I want. But the real reason I put it in there was to get my red source. So I feel like the Cleave is almost just a bonus, a late game effect. So it's like a 1/5 for the average deck, even if you are in Golgari. But if you're in the 3 color, we're happy. Dormant Grove, a 4 mana enchantment at the beginning of your combat. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has toughness 6 or greater, transform this into a 3/6 vigilance. Other creatures you control have vigilance. That seems good.
Yeah, it's a bit expensive on the front side for a very slow growth, but it's consistent. You don't have to go, like, if you don't want to for whatever reason, you don't have to keep putting the counters on the same thing. You can spread them out. But then it's obviously not going to transform.
It works really well with that human that wants counters to draw cards. Things like this would be really definitely cute. And honestly, just the incremental of like getting that +1/+1 counter each turn is really nice. I like this card a lot. I mean, it's still only like a 3, but...
Yeah, I think I'm a little lower at like a 2/5 just because on its face it's a 4 mana enchantment that you're playing it and doesn't really do much that turn.
I'm definitely on the lower side on this as well, so I feel like I was probably giving it a little bit too much credit for the backside giving everything vigilance, but I mean, that feels strong to me, so I leaned up.
Sure.
All right, moving on, guys. The Flourishing Hunter, 6 mana, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among other creatures, so it likely just gains 6.
Yeah, unless you're playing that, whatever 1/13 zombie.
You know, I played a bunch of Honey Mammoths on my top end, and I was fine with it.
Yeah. This card's fine. It's a wolf, which is relevant. It's true. It cannot gain the life for itself.
Oh, it can't?
Other creatures.
Okay, whatever. It's still probably a 2/5.
Yeah, it's still probably 6/6 gain 3 or 4.
It's still a Honey Mammoth. Honey Mammoths get played. Yeah. Glorious Sunrise, 5 mana enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample. Target land gains tap, add 3 forests until end of turn. Or draw a card if you control a creature with power 3 or greater. That's much lower than normal. Or you can gain 3 life. That's a lot of things. That's real flexible.
Yeah, I really like this card. It's bad, and specifically like one real situation, right? Which is if you top deck it on an empty board, because then all you're doing is like gaining 3 life.
Yes.
But besides that, you know, you're in green. And this is a 5-drop. You probably have a creature big enough to be drawing cards, and right away, because it's the beginning of combat.
Yeah. And then once you are drawing 1 or 2 cards to get that nice card advantage, get an extra creature ahead, then you give everything +1/+1 and it tramples.
Yeah, or you use the ramp ability to play multiple spells, and then the next turn you pump your board. Yeah, it feeds itself very nicely.
It's not winning you the game it comes out, but it can win games. This is some good incremental value. I give this a 3/5, but I feel like it's probably closer to a 4.
Yeah, I think I give this a 4.
All right, moving on, we got Hamlet Vanguard. It is a 3/3 for one. It's a 3 mana 1/1 with Ward 2. And when Hamlet Vanguard enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it for each other non-token human you control. I feel like I read this wrong. It enters the battlefield with 2/1/1 counters on it for each other non-token human you control. So it's just ginormous.
If you're wide.
Yes. So it can just be
wide with non-humans.
Yes.
Or sorry, wide with humans.
With humans, which green-white is does have like a lot of human synergies.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if this is coming, if you have one, we're great. If you have two, it's amazing.
Yeah, if you have one, you've gotten fair value for your mana. If it's two, you're getting a great deal.
Great. So it's got a bit of a wide range depending on how many humans are in your deck, but I like this card. This is a 3/5.
Yeah, I like it at 3/5. That's a human, question mark.
That's Hammy. That's my Doge. My Doge. All right, Hive Heart Shaman. 4 mana, 3/5 human shaman. Whenever it attacks, you may search your library for a basic land that does not share a land type with a land you control. Put that onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So good for splashing. For 6 mana, create a green insect creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of basic lands among lands you control. Activate as a sorcery. Even if you don't have any way to like use the land mechanic, like if you're not going to get a land, you still 6 mana just make like 2/2 bugs, right?
Yeah, you got to figure you're probably making 3/3 bugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 mana 3/5 with the recurring mana sink for
3/3s
or 4/4s. Most likely 3/3s. Yeah. Activate only as the sorcery kind of stinks, but
it doesn't tap, so I mean it's also fine.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a little bit more important when we're tapping.
Definitely more important when you're tapping. More important depends on the color pair you're into. But I like this card a lot.
Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a. What are we thinking?
I'm on the fence, so just for pun reasons, I'll give it a 3/5.
Okay, I'm leaning towards a 4, just because I mean making a free 3/3 every turn is going to win you a game. If they can't deal with it, it seems good. Okay, Hooked Hand, 4 mana 4/4 with Daybound. At night, it turns into a 6/4. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Seems fine. I like 4 mana 4/4s.
Yeah. No downsides here.
3.
Yep.
All right, Howling Moon, 3 mana at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target wolf you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell, create a 2/2 wolf. Ooh, that's cute. If you have a lot of wolves and you're going to be gaining that +2/+2 every turn reliably, that's great. And then it really locks your opponent down because they have to choose between like doing a thing and playing a creature and a removal spell or something. They can't really do it without giving you an actually like a 4/4 attacker, right?
Yeah. This card needs some support, I think, because otherwise it's a little slow and nothing, but it is very good in that wolf deck.
Agreed. It's like a split card, our first green split. I think it's like 1/3/5. Maybe the locking them down not to cast 2 spells, because if you get 1 trigger for 3 mana, we're like kind of fine with that. So if you have a few wolves, maybe you don't need much. Maybe it's like a 2.
Yeah, I still think I'm probably putting this in like maybe a 1/5.
Okay.
On the bottom side.
Yeah. That's about where I had it as well originally. All right. So let's go ahead and get back into it. Howling Pack Piper, a 4 mana 2/2. The spell can't be countered. For 2 mana, you can tap. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If it's a wolf or a werewolf, untap this card, activate as a sorcery. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. What?
Yeah.
What? Seems good. I like this card. What are we rating it?
Well, we got a backside.
It has a backside? Oh my god, it's daybound, nightbound. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield or transforms into, whenever this creature enters the battlefield or transforms, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put that into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. Okay. That seems insane.
Yeah. 4 mana, 2/2. Obviously underrate, but 2 mana to just put any creature into play.
And then it becomes an at-rate creature on the back, and that gains you card value.
Yeah. I mean, the front side is obviously a callback to Elvish Piper from, I think it was Urza's Destiny, which was a 4 mana 1/1 that had that ability. But yeah, this card's nuts.
Is it just a 4?
I think it is. I mean, you obviously want to play. This is going to get better in like your red-green werewolves with a bunch of big beaters, as opposed to like green-white humans.
Yes.
But, that's fine. You're still, even in those decks, you're still going to have 4 and 5 drops that you're now getting to put in for 2. Some of which will untap and let you double spell on a turn when you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to go ahead and give this a 4. All right, there's a lot of flip cards in this color. Son of a biscuits. Infestation Expert, 5 mana for a 3/4. Whenever this enters the battlefield or attacks, create a 1/1 green insect creature token with Daybound. And then at night it becomes a 4/5 whenever wolf or whatever make us say same ability. Okay, so it's just a 3/4 for 5 that turns into a 4/5 for 5, which is at rate, and it makes dudes every time it attacks or enters the battlefield.
Yeah, it just the back ability just doubles up. You get 2 of them.
Oh, yeah, I skimmed it. I didn't see the 2. Oh, that seems great. I like this card.
Yeah, you get 5 mana for 4/5 worth of stats on the front just for playing it over 2 bodies, and then they just keep getting more.
And if you happen to play it at night, you're getting 6/7 for 5 mana, which seems nuts.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it has to be also the best flavor text in the set.
Yeah. What's bugging you? I like it. All right, so what do we like it rating-wise?
It's like a 3/5.
I have it at a 3/5, borderline 4 if you think you're going to be getting, if you can get attacks in, this can win some games. Laid to Rest, 4 mana. Whenever a human you control dies, draw a card. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, you gain 2 life. You have a lot of humans, that's some good card draw.
Yeah, very deck specific.
Yeah.
Not playing this probably in anything other than green-white.
Yep, it feels like a split card. It's like a 1, and even in the green-white deck, it's like a 2/5.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get several triggers on it before you're happy with it. Massive Might, +2/+2, and gains Trample until end of turn for only 1 green. That's where I like my spells.
Yeah, that's a big slug.
That is a large slug. Is this enough to give it the boost to 2.5?
I think it's still a 2 for me. But I'm always lower on tricks that don't have hexproof or indestructible than you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the Trample, but I'm kind of close because the Trample and only being 1 mana for a combat trick. I feel like the 2 mana ones are typically the 2 for me, so this feels reasonably strong.
Yep.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Moldgraph Millipede, 4 and a green for a 2/2 Insectar, so 5 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards, then put a +1/+1 counter on this for each creature card in your graveyard. Needs some help, right? You've got to have... You need this to be like a 5/5, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But it's putting 3 cards, so what odds are that's like 1 creature, 1+.
Mm-hmm.
You'll need 2 other creatures by turn 5 or 6, whenever you play this, to make this pretty good. This could be interesting, especially if you have blue-green or black-green mill or blood discarding or stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty average. I mean, it's probably like a 2/5. It's got some upside. Its worst side is probably not too bad. Like on 5, you're probably getting a 4/4, which is slightly below rate. But you have a chance of just drawing this on turn like 12 and making a 7/7 or whatever. It just feels fine.
It's a great late game top deck.
Yeah. All right, so Mulch, guys, 2 mana, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So we want some big land things here. These cards are fine. If we want to ramp into some big stuff.
Well, this doesn't ramp you. It just puts them into your hand. But it's good for splashing to help find some lands. And it's good with cards like the Millipede, where you want to get stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah, I said ramping pretty loosely. I just meant like we want to be hitting our 6 drops, and this is going to make sure that we do that.
Yep.
It's probably like a 2 in the average deck.
Yeah, I think it's a 2, maybe a 2/5 in the graveyard theme decks.
Nature's Embrace. It's a 3 mana aura. Enchant creature or land, as long as enchant permanent is a creature, gets +2/+2. As long as it's a land, it gets add 2 mana of any one color. So it's a fixer in the fixer and a ramp in the early game, which is nice. And then it's not dead in the late game, which is a part of the reason I don't like running these types of cards. So I think that's good.
Yeah, we've seen different ways that they've tried to mitigate that downside to these cards, like the one that you can sack for a wolf for a 2/2 later. I think this is probably worse than that one, but it's good flexibility.
Yeah, certainly. That said, I don't think I'm running this if I'm likely to cast it on a creature, right? I don't like 2/2 enchantments.
Agreed.
So if I've got a big deck and I want to have more mana, then I'm going to run this. But if I'm running like green-white humans, I could top out at 4, then not really all that interested. Let's give it.
I want to be casting big things or splashing.
Yes. The splash option is really nice, any color. So it's probably like a 2/5 in the average deck.
Yep.
All right. Oakshade Stalker, 3 mana, 3/3. You may cast the spell as though it had flash if you pay 2 more. That's a nice ability with Daybound. And at night, it turns to a 6/3. Oh, that could just kill somebody. Flash it in at the end of their turn on a night cycle. And you just dome them for 6. It's cute.
Yeah, I like this card. Even just as a 3 mana 3/3, that's fine. With the flexibility to flash it in, or 3 mana 6/3 sometimes. Like, yeah, this card's just very good, above rate all across the board.
Okay, perfect. Moving on. I put it at like a 3.
3, yeah.
All right, Warsong Pup, my preview card. I mean, there's a lot of wolves, so this is gonna get some value, and you only need to get 1 trigger on it to like be at rate. So I like this card. It is a 2 mana 1/1 that at the beginning of combat, if you control another wolf or werewolf, get a +1/+1 counter, and when it dies, you gain some life. So, 2 triggers on this. We're really happy. This is good for the snowbally wolf deck.
Yeah. It's got the typical downside of 2/2, right? Is that late game draw. While it's not dead, it'll take a while for it to be relevant.
But at its worst, it's still.
But that's fine.
At its worst, it's still a 2/2 likely, right? Like late game, you're top decking it, playing it pre-combat with your other wolf. You get a 2/2. It's just like top decking any 2-drop. Late game is always bad.
It's a similar problem as most 2-drops have.
Yeah, so it feels a little weird to count it against it, just because drawing any of our bears with upside or turn 10 are just not good. But this one has the chance to still sit around and become a 5/5 with not a lot of requirement, which I like.
Yeah, it does have the downside that sometimes it's going to be a 1/1. But no, this card's fine.
Yeah, I think there's enough wolves where it's not super problematic. Reclusive Taxidermist. It's a 1/2 for 2. Reclusive Taxidermist gets +3/+2 as long as there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, and you can add a mana of any color. Oh, I like that. A little mana dork that gets bigger. It's cute.
Yeah, it's ramp that ramp cards are usually terrible in the late game because they're usually underrated. But this will be a 4/4 late.
And it fixes. It doesn't just add green or anything. Yes. It's not creature spells or anything like that. So yeah, I like this card a fair amount actually. What would you rate it?
Probably the average deck, it's probably a 3, but I can see it being higher in the splash decks or decks that are going big.
Yeah, I have it in a 3 as well, and there does seem to be some graveyard synergy, so if you're putting a bunch of creatures in your graveyards, then maybe it gets a little bit of a bonus, but I also have it at a 3. All right, 3 mana for a sorcery, return up to one target creature card and one target non-creature permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so you have to have non-creature permanents to make this even playable, but usually I'm not a huge fan of these.
Yeah, I don't particularly like this card. Black ones, they get back 2 creatures. That's fine because you're usually going to have 2 creatures in your yard, but really most of the time this means you've got to have you're getting a creature and a land, if you can get a land.
Yeah. So this feels like a 1/5 to me.
Yep, I agree. I'll play this card if I have a Planeswalker, for example.
Rural Recruit. We have a Human Peasant. It's a 1/1 for 4 mana with training. When it enters the battlefield, create a 3/1 green boar creature token. So it gives you a 4/2 for 5. Actually, it's kind of a 5/3 for 4 mana because you attack with the boar, and this you're kind of automatically guaranteed to get one thing, but you could just be sending it to its death still. I mean, this is okay for the go wides.
Yeah, I think it's okay. 4 mana 4/2. You're not thrilled with, although 2 bodies makes it a little better, but that little bonus that you should get that extra counter is nice.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're like the aggressive curving out person and like they're already behind and being forced to trade with your 3-drop, then this feels great. That said, I mean, it's like a 2/5, right?
Yeah, yep.
All right. We have a 4 mana 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1, destroy target artifact and opponent controls, or it fights target zombie and opponent controls. Those are very specific and not likely to be relevant, so
Yeah, it's a 4 mana 4/3 with some upside.
It's like a 2/5.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fine card.
We have a Aura spell for 3 mana. It's an enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. I like that. And it gets +3/+1. Well, sideboard for sure. I would love to have access to something like this in a sideboard. Against more aggressive red burn spells. And also the fact that it replaces itself makes me really happy to run it. So you're not really worried about that same enchantment 2-for-1-ing.
Yeah. 23rd card for me.
Agreed. I have it at a 2.
Yep.
Playable if you don't have a ton of things. Definitely something I want to pick up for my sideboard. Snarling Wolf. We saw this in the last set.
It's literally just reprinted for Midnight Hunt.
Yeah, they just got this one. Now I want to go this into pup and call it a day. This is like a 2. I mean, I played it in the werewolf deck. I played it with Tolvar. But for the most part, it didn't see a ton of play. But it's a 23rd playable card and fine in any green deck.
Yeah, it feels like the wolf payoffs are a little better in this set than they were in the last set, or more prevalent at least.
Spiked Ripsaw, 3 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may sacrifice a forest. If you do, that creature gains trample until end of turn. That's a little steep. It's also a 3 equip cost, which is not really where I like to be.
I don't really like this card. I love the flavor of this card. That it's a sauce, you have to sacrifice a forest.
Yeah, this is a 1/5, 23rd playable card if you have a creature heavy deck.
Yeah, the equip cost is just too high.
+3/+3 is a lot of stats. So, like, if you have a lot of creatures and you don't have a lot of playables, then sure. Splendid Reclamation, 4 mana for a sorcery. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Not really limited playable. Like, there is a sack deck or a discard melee deck, but I don't care if I don't really want those lands back all that much.
Nope, you didn't play this card in Eldritch Moon Limited, and you're not going to play it in Limited here.
Spore Crawler is a 3/2 for 3 mana. When Spore Crawler dies, draw a card. Ooh, I like this. This is better than the typical 3/2 for 3. I like to give this a little bump.
Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah, this is a 2/5. I might even give this a 3 if it was a relevant creature type.
Yeah, if it was a wolf or a human, this would be a 3, but since it's not, I'll give it a 5.
All right, Sporeback Wolf. Cute. 2 mana 2/2. As long as it's your turn, it gets a bigger booty. If you're the aggressive wolves, that makes this just a 2 mana 2/4, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, card's fine. It's like usual, bear with upside, relevant creature type.
Yep, 2/5. Toxic Scorpion, a 1/1 Death Toucher for 1 or for 2. Got cheap, tiny Death Touchers that aren't really expensive. When it enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gains Death Touch till end of turn. That's kind of a cute little bonus too.
Yeah, it'll let you get a free attack in. So especially if you have anything that can, help benefit your training creatures, make it easier for them to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cheap Death Touchers are where you want to be.
2/5.
Yeah, 2/5.
All right. We have a 4 mana 4/4 with Trample Haste, and for 7 mana you can transform it into a 8/8 Trample Haste. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Trample and Haste. Holy smokes.
Yeah, card's fantastic.
Yeah, this card is going to win you the game if left alone, but it doesn't leave any lasting effect on the board if they have the answer, so it's just a 4/5.
Yeah, it's probably a 4 on its front side and then the bonus for the back, because that is a lot of mana. You're paying 11 mana to get to the backside.
Yeah, I mean, 4 mana 4/4s that do nothing are very playable. This one has Trample and Haste. It's pretty
Trample
cool.
and Haste, yeah.
All right, Weaver of Blossoms, 3 mana 2/3, add 1 mana. Oh, and Nightbound, it becomes add 2 mana for a 3/4. I mean, it's front side alone I like. A 3/2 for 3 is like at rate, right? For like a 2, barely playable. But the add mana dork of any color lets you fix, lets you ramp, lets you do everything. And then it actually becomes a reasonable size threat on the backside. I like it.
Yeah, and as we go through the set, I'm getting a little more optimistic about the bigger spells in this set. Because there seems to be a lot of ramping. A lot of playable ramp.
Yeah, this is like a 3 for me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Witch's Web, 2 mana for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3. Gains reach until end of turn and untap it. So those 2 things are really cute.
Yeah, being able to ambush a flyer is fantastic as a combat trick. This is the kind of one I want to play if I'm going to play a combat trick.
Yeah, agreed. 2 mana is not expensive. +3/+3 is a lot. It can be tapped, and it gains reach if you need it in a pinch. This is like a 2/5. This is my favorite combat trick of the set so far.
Yeah, I agree on 2/5.
Wolf Strike, 3 mana for an instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn if it is night. Then deal damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So it's a punch. At night, it's a bigger punch. I'm a little surprised it doesn't require it to be a wolf to get the +3/+0 or +2/+0, but this seems fine.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder when we were going to see any sort of green removal.
Yeah, this is it. It's also instant speed, which is really cute. So it's at least a 3/5. If you have wolves that are making it night and stuff, it's going to be really strong. And at instant speed, it gets rid of a lot of the downside of having these punch spells of getting 2 for 1.
Yeah, I like 3/5.
All right. Last card, Wolfkin Outcast. It's a 6 mana 5/6 on the front side. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a wolf or werewolf, making it a 4 mana 5/4 with Daybound. At night, it becomes a 6/5. Or another wolf you control dies, draw a card. Whenever this or another card dies, draw a card. Cute. Okay, I like this card. That draw mechanic is really cute. And if you have a fair amount of wolves in the deck, it's going to be cheap.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a Wedding Crasher and a Wedding theme set, and this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, I like this card. That said, it's just like a top-endy card, but if you're going to get it to the backside with wolves and you're drawing, then it becomes quite a bit more than that. So I feel like this is a 3 without wolves, and then with some major upside.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a lower floor without wolves, because then you're paying 6 for a 5/4 and flipping it. It has to die, but because you're not going to have the other things. But with it, it's got a big upside.
Yeah, I mean, given that it's only 4 mana when you have the wolf, I feel like there's so many wolves, and if you're in green, there's going to be enough like incidental random stuff.
Yeah, you will likely have some.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so what do you like it at, a 3? Oh, you said lower.
I think it's lower if you don't have wolves.
Okay, cool.
But I think you are going to have them most of the time.
Yeah, so it's like maybe a 2/5 without them, and then it's honestly, if you have like a heavy wolf deck, it's going to go way up, because if you are drawing, it feels amazing. All right, guys, that's the end of our green. Thank you very, very much for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. Yanks, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We've got one more. We're going to be finishing that I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.